This is the Tiger vs. Shahry episode, which picks up where the last episode left off, as we see two of the shuttles have a bit of a rough landing, and the third shuttle... Riku's obviously fine, this is just supposed to be a cliffhanger for the opening credits. If this was a cliffhanger at the end of the last episode, that would have been annoying. Well, this seems ominous. This episode actually cuts between different locations on the battlefield, characters talking, as well as this flashback of the build divers discussing their strategy, which is of course a way to explain their strategy to the audience. Shuttle 1 has Yuki's new Gunpla, the Jagan Blastmaster. And along with Ayame and Koichi, their job is to draw the enemy's attention and hold off the reinforcements. Ah, the old show how powerful you are by destroying a bunch of nameless enemies. It's a cliche, but it works. Tiger and Maggie are in Shuttle 2, and that just leaves Shuttle 3. This is the key to their plan, because if the Coalition thinks the shuttle was destroyed, Momo and Riku can sneak past the bulk of the Coalition forces. The Friendship Gunpla is too big for the shuttle, and they can only fit 4 SD Gundams, so combiners are out, and that's why Hiro volunteers to use her force's Gunpla to fake the wreckage. The way this is explained manages to be more than exposition, because it shows how the characters feel. The strength of this episode is where the characters are positioned on the battlefield. Maggie and Tiger are effectively cancelled out by Rommel and Shahry. This way, the high-level players are helping the heroes without taking over the show. The episode even uses the fact that Momo's Gunpla is amphibious to set up this funny interaction with the two comic relief characters. Scenes like this are important to show how the Coalition planned for all these different contingencies. We finally learn the Game Master's real name is Katsuragi, and at this very moment, he's taking matters into his own hands. That's adorable. Will Sarah be erased? Obviously, Sarah's fine. Kyoya stepped in to save her. I like the idea that Kyoya, as the Force leader, can disable some of Katsuragi's admin privileges. This only works because they're in Kyoya's Force nest, and obviously the admins could bypass this, but it keeps Katsuragi from acting on his own. I know this isn't realistic, unless GBN is decentralized or something. Kyoya says he knows he's asking too much, but he believes that since the players are the ones who created Sarah, they should be the ones who decide what happens. And none of these players are calling on the admins to stop the battle. They obviously think Riku's gonna lose, but I think Kyoya's point is, GBN belongs to its player base, and we should be able to make our own decisions, even if the admins think it's a bad idea. Speaking of bad ideas, Kyoya literally leaves Sarah locked in this room with Katsuragi. Nice callback to Kyoya respecting Sarah as a person. But Sarah's still trapped in this room! He doesn't leave a guard or anything, he just takes off because now it's time for the main event! Tiger vs. Shahry! Dialogue like this fails because Shahry is a poorly written villain. The episode needs to have their Tiger vs. Shahry fight, and the actual choreography kind of works. Shahry has this new melee transformation. If you want to be generous, you can say this was inspired by Riku. Shahry finally uses Transam, and then Tiger responds by unveiling this new technique, at which point the fight devolves into Save Me Magic Bubble! After Shahry's defeated, his true motivation is revealed, along with the reason why I consider him to be a poorly written villain.
正真正銘の愛にあふれた偽りのないバトルだった。ありがとう。
まさか俺に本気を出させるために運営の側に。
Shahry is a poorly written villain because everybody, including Shahry himself, don't seem to realize he actually is a villain. If you want to be generous, you can say this is also for Tiger's benefit. Get him all riled up so he fights all out, and now somehow he's stronger. My interpretation, selfish narcissist wanted to have a good Gunpla battle.
君たちの陽動作戦も有志連合に察知されている。
何？
守備陣形の薄いところを教えよう。急いで応援に。
そうはさせない。
Ogre vs. Riku worked because Ogre's an anti-hero driven by his sense of honor. And all this damage gets reset in the next episode. This doesn't even reach the level of, well, in the end he told him the coalition knew about their strategy, so all is forgiven. In fact, the closest thing I could find to an apology is this.
チャンピオンは私が引き受ける。君はリク君のところへ。
お前の方こそ行け。チャンピオンは俺が。シノブの言ってる場合じゃねえか。
二人力を合わせないで。
勝てる相手じゃねえよな。
That almost sounded like Tiger was apologizing. It's like the episode needs these two to fight, but they're not allowed to make Shahry the villain. And Shahry legitimately switching sides would have worked. Instead, any value that comes from Shahry saying what his alleged motivations are rendered useless when the episode says, no, just kidding, Shahry's not a villain. There is good dialogue in this episode that shows how the characters feel.
なぜわからない。君にとってもこの GBN はかけがえのない存在だろう。
新たに生まれてくる命よりかけがえのないものなんてないのよ。
Scenes like this effectively show through dialogue how from the build divers' perspective they're trying to save someone's life, but from the coalition's perspective the build divers are a threat to GBN.
お前たちの勝手で GBN を消滅させるわけにはいかないんだよ。
俺だってこんなバトルのために GBN を始めたわけじゃないよ。
All this fight really does is force Riku to use up his missiles. Yeah, those are just missile pods, kind of a disappointment. Randy destroys the missiles and then... Even though this is just a video game and no one's actually being killed, it shows how Riku's conflicted.
ついにサラを救うための戦いが始まった。
気をつけろよリク。あの野郎の姿がまだ見えねえ。
それは私のことかな。
Tiger vs. Shahry is supposed to be the main event of the episode, and it's the weakest part, especially as far as character goes. They still have to team up to face the champion, so Shahry gives Tiger one of his gauntlets, so now Tiger can punch in a different color. I mean, this is a symbolic new super move symbolizing their friendship. The Silk Road was a historic trade route from way back before the internet, and it kind of fits with these characters. Shahry has a Middle Eastern theme, Tiger has an Asian theme, unless of course they're referring to something else, and I have no idea what that something else could be. Yay, Nanami did something in this episode! She just lets someone who isn't an employee have access to the server room. How does she still have a job? Now that everything's ready in the real world, we're just waiting for the build divers to rescue Sarah. The episode ends with the build divers struggling against the coalition, and now Riku has to face Kyoya. Yes, the end of the epic battle of Tiger vs. Shahry was, they get defeated by Kyoya off-screen. If only they had room in their shuttle for more Gunpla. There's room in one of the shuttles for another Gunpla. But who would pilot it? This was probably done to keep it focused on the core characters. It just would have been nice to have one line saying, "It's too bad we couldn't find another person, there's room in the shuttle." This episode got the battle started, all the players are in position, and we know a little more about their motivations. I didn't say they were all good motivations. Next episode, Kyoya vs. Riku. This is the Hypervisor signing off.